Hello, everybody. Welcome to KFC SuperCoach TV. Al Paton here, joined by my friend Dan Batten to talk KFC SuperCoach heading into round 11 now. We hopefully will have a third member of the panel with us very soon. There's a lot of family action going on in the KFC SuperCoach world. We know the Phantoms taking a little bit of a step back for a few weeks for the arrival of a little Phantom Junior, hopefully in the next little bit. So best of wishes to him. And we know the GOAT, Dan Begala, has just welcomed a GOAT Junior in the last few weeks. So he's dealing with some issues there, but hopefully he'll be with us shortly. But not something that I have to worry about, Dan, and you either, as far as I know.
Yeah, it's a fair few years away from me. But just on the Phantom, we're all asking where's the Phantom, and he said, yes, Phantom Junior is coming along. My mail is actually being investigated. We know he's in 189th spot at the moment in KFC SuperCoach, but rumor has it that he may have been hacking into the system to get a few more trades under his belt. So we'll see what comes of it. Obviously, it could be used as a little bit of a front, the fact that he's having his second child very conveniently when he's going very well in KFC SuperCoach. Some thought it may have been because he's using that time to attack the 50K prize, but I don't know. I feel like there might be something a little bit more suspicious at play.
Well, he keeps telling us that he's got like 3 trade boosts left or something. I mean, how is this possible? I've used up all of mine.
It's because he's got 8. He's got 8 trade boosts. that's what's been alleged anyway. So we'll see what comes of that. Yeah, SuperCoach investigation. But in all seriousness, great to be here. And yeah, unfortunately we don't have the Phantom because he's the only one who could actually provide some good advice. Really, I mean, it seems like we're both doing okay, but yeah, a really interesting week ahead. And obviously with the DPPs coming up, which, usually this time of year, our teams are looking pretty poor. A lot of people drop off, but now it's a real crossroads at the moment. What do we do, especially with 2 really key names coming up?
Yeah, I mean, purely from our point of view at the Herald Sun, and we're noticing this, really high interest in KFC SuperCoach at the moment. And Tim has done a brilliant job on those DPP articles, following the stats to see who's likely to get it, and then we'll find out on Sunday night who gets the next round of new positions. Who'll become a mid forward or a mid def or a ruck def. There's some interesting ones going on, and yeah, plenty of people following that very closely because, I mean, it's been an interesting year all around with so many trades. We're probably a bit closer to having a finished team now than we would normally be at this time of the year. And then we're heading into the buys. But then we've also got this whole other factor of DPPs that we need to try and figure out as well. People maybe thought they had a finished forward line, and all of a sudden you've got a couple of guys there who might be averaging 110, 115, who all of a sudden are going to be in the top 3 or 4 scoring forwards if it goes the way we think it will. So you have to find a way to hopefully get him into your team. Mark Wilkinson, a good question here. This is what I was thinking early in the week. Is this a week to do nothing? You got the buys coming up. Anybody that you trade in now is only going to miss a week with the buy anyway. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to stick to that. And I haven't seen many people following that path this year. Is that a viable strategy still, Dan?
Yeah, I think it is. But I'm going to be using my do nothing week for next week, I think, ahead of round 12, because there's not really much point bringing in someone when they're going to have a buy coming up. So round 12, 13, 14, there's a bit more merit in bringing in a guy like Bont, for example, for 2 weeks, especially when he's playing West Coast this week where he could go bananas. So yeah, it certainly could be a week, especially if you're playing for leagues. I think that it could be a week to sit on your hands and not trade. But there's plenty of quality options around. I wouldn't be trading in a round 12 buy. I don't think so. That probably rules out a guy like Jack Sinclair. You're probably better off just waiting an extra week, even if it does cost you 20K or so. You're probably better off just waiting a week there. But yeah, I think next week will probably be my week where I sit on my hands. Hopefully, obviously we're saying that now, but and everything can change. But it sort of depends where your buy structure and where you're going well for each round. If you are going really well in round 12, for example, it might be worth even trading a round 12 in this week, even if you're playing for leagues and you've got maybe an opponent you want to knock off. But yeah, I guess that's the moral of the story. It is a case-by-case basis, but certainly there is merit in doing it.
Yeah, we've certainly been talking for a couple of weeks now, and it's really crucial now to hopefully, if you've got SuperCoach Plus, click on that buy planner, and it will tell you how many players you've got available each week. Obviously, during the buys, you only need to be able to field 18 players each round, and if you have more than that, if you get 19 or 20, you get the top 18 on-field scorers. And yeah, just be smart when you're doing that, because I know there's one round, I think the middle bye round, I've got 3 rucks who are all playing, but you can only get the 2 that you've actually got on the field. And then there might be other rounds where it's like, oh, I think I've got 18 or 19, but then you look closely and, you've got a Rosas on the bench, or Brody Hoff or someone like that. So, you want to be honest with yourself about exactly who you've got playing. And the other thing that has sort of come into my thinking in the last few days, good question by Geordie here, one of our long-term fans, is throwing this straight at you. But I think it is an interesting question because, we can map out plans across the buys, and, coming into round 13 especially, I think there's quite a few rookies that a lot of us have got in Sam De Koning, Paddy McCartan, Greg Clark even, or McCom, if they've made a little bit of money by then, who are all going to be missing in that round. And the obvious thing to do would be to trade 1 or 2 of them down to someone cheap who's playing, and then use the money to trade the other one up to, Sam Doherty or Sinclair, someone who's just had their buy. Like, that's the prototype move during the buys. But there could be an issue of us having almost too many of these rookies, and maybe not enough cheapies to bring in. So is it actually a smart move to maybe do something this week or next week to just put a bit of cash in the bank so you can make those big moves after round 12?
Geordie has been keeping me honest on Sam De Koning. We know he has scored really well. The Phantom actually, pending that investigation, of course, traded out Sam De Koning the week before, and he's absolutely flying, and he enabled him to get Jack Sinclair at another premium this week. So I think in particular circumstances, if it allows you to get that extra premium a week early, like a Bontempelli before he earns that DPP status, because you think most people are going to be getting Bontempelli after he comes off his bye in round 14. If that enables you to get him a couple of weeks early, or maybe a Bailey Smith if he gets up. Obviously, he was missed training yesterday with that illness, but if it allows you to do that, I think there is scope to do it. Obviously, there is a little bit of doubt over whether Luke Cleary plays. I was pretty bullish on him on the weekend. I thought he performed pretty well against the Suns, and Bevo was, giving him a rap post game as well. But his presser earlier in the week, or yesterday actually, I think it was sort of saying that, Jure could come in for him. They did both play in the same side a couple of weeks ago when he made his debut, and he has performed quite well since then. So there is certainly a chance that he does hold his spot, but how long will he? I guess that's the question. And then you've got other guys like Cooper Stevens, whose job security is a little bit shaky as well. Obviously, with Danger out, could give him an extra bit of responsibility in the midfield there, especially as he's sort of been touted for the last couple of years to step in. But yeah, it's I guess we'll sort of find out with teams, I think, before we make that move. But yeah, I think if you're getting the right player in, then there is merit to trading out a guy like Sam De Koning or even Paddy McCartan a week early. I think the Phantom has him in his sights as well to trade out. So, I mean, if a Phantom's doing it, I reckon it's a pretty good call at the moment. So, yeah, obviously it does depend where your team is at. But, yeah, there is certainly scope to do that.
I mean, both those guys have a little bit more money to make, but if you think you're going to be trading one or both of them in a week or two anyway, you're not losing a lot of cash on the deal. And if you as you say, if you can make that move and get the player you want now, then there's not a huge advantage in waiting, especially if, I think this might be where the Phantom's at, where he's, got the edge on someone like me for sure, is that I'm playing, McCartan at M or D6, but if you've got a premium there and McCartan's on your bench, then, or if you can, make that move happen, so you don't actually need him on the field, then that's something that you could definitely consider. But what about, like, I could be in a position where I've actually got Bontempelli already. People probably are sick of me talking about Bontempelli because I got him a few weeks ago, and now it seems like an absolute genius move, even though I was complaining for 3 or 4 weeks. But so I don't know that I want to bring in Bailey Smith now as well. I've already got a lot of players missing in that round 13 bye. So is there merit to trading down a player like a De Koning to Cleary, if he's named, just to pocket that cash and not even doing the upgrade now, just hanging on to the money, and then I can use it next week or even, wait to pick up Baz after his bye. But that's, you got a lot of cash just sitting there not being used.
Yeah, I think so, because, we're looking at these defenders who are coming up. It might be Jacob Ware from the Giants, but obviously he still has to get named for this week, and then he's got the bye, and who knows what can happen in 2 weeks' time, whether he does hold his spot. You got to look at, so Sam De Koning, he has a break even of 43, has been scoring quite well, taking a lot of contested marks. hasn't been going off the ground in recent weeks, 100% game time for him. But if he scores according to SuperCoach Plus, his projected score, he's only projected to rise another 14K. So if you're sure of Luke Cleary's job security and you think that his job security is better than a Jacob Ware, for instance, obviously we'll know a little bit more after team announcements tonight. I think that's definitely a worthwhile move to bank that cash now, because we don't know if there's going to be any defensive rookies in 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah, so Jacob Ware is an interesting one. We had him on the he would have been in the rookie Bible last year, I think, because he was picked up by the Giants in the draft as a slightly older draft pick, and we thought he was a chance to play early. And of course, he hasn't been cited at all until he came in last week. They had about a dozen changes in the end. GWS, did you like what you saw from him first up?
Yeah, only had the 9 touches, but I guess the ball wasn't really down there too much. Looked like he pushed up the ground a bit, kicked a goal against the Eagles there, 9 touches, and a goal he finished up with in just under the 50 points. For him, he's a good ball user, and I'm surprised he hasn't cracked into that Giants defense. Previously, they do have quite a few good ball users across their backline, admittedly, but yeah, I'm surprised he didn't, because he was a mature age acquisition. I think not last year's draft, but the draft before that. So yeah, I think that there is scope. Obviously, you want to see the second week before making the call on him. But yeah, if Cleary does miss, then Ware might be the one. And I think it's really interesting as well that Cameron didn't play him, but the first week McVeigh's there, he brought him in. So obviously he sees something in him, and he's probably going to give him at least a week or two. So but I guess as KFC SuperCoaches, before bringing him in, it's probably a perfect move to maybe downgrade a Paddy McCartan when he has his round 13 bye to Ware when he comes off the round 12 bye. But that's assuming he does get named. So I think you can certainly wait on Ware.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that would work out perfectly. But well, there's no Leon anymore, so who knows? Maybe Strike will it'll all work out perfectly for us. But yeah, you could totally see him even playing this week and then not playing in round 13, and then we're sort of all of a sudden in a bit of a hole. So yeah, that could be the argument for maybe just getting Cleary now when you know there's someone decent available, assuming he does get named tonight. Now, there's a couple of other bubble boys around, some small forwards who we don't think are going to score a lot. They've got different buys. So, maybe if you want someone with a round 14 buy, Sam Butler from the Hawks or someone like that could fit your plans. But yeah, I don't think we're going to get much in the way of points from those guys. But what about Jackson Payne asking about Jake Saligo? He's actually played 4 games, but he was the sub, I think, for the first couple. So he's come back into the team and been pretty good. Scored 96 last week. He's won 68K, but I'm just trying to open his profile to see his break even, but it must be pretty low, I think.
Yeah, so it's lower than Cooper Stevens, and obviously former rookie Jackson Payne there, just asking a question. Thank you for that, former Lion and Pie. But Jake Saligo, I wasn't so sure on. He obviously scored really well on the weekend, but watched some of his tape back, and he was super impressive. I think he's earned himself at least 2 or 3 weeks in that Crows side, and we know that Matthew Nicks is willing to drop these guys. At the moment, he's got Crouch, Riley O'Brien, Wayne Malira playing in their sample side, and he's willing to give the kids a go if they're going well. So I think they're going to keep giving him opportunity. So if you say, goes to teams tonight and Cooper Stevens is dropped and Luke Cleary is dropped, I think Jake Saligo is probably the next best bet, even though he's had a couple of price rises. They haven't been that steep. And you'd think that he, I guess for a rookie this year, it used to be a trade and it's 150K you usually want him to make. I think you can afford at this stage to have a warm body playing that's pumping out 50, 60s that makes you an extra, say, 120K and gets you to maybe 280. I think that he can get there. And even just from his juniors as well, he was such a good ball user. That's his main trait. So he can score quite well, I think, without getting a heap of the footy. And yeah, he's quite exciting and he showed some great signs over the weekend. So yeah, I'm certainly warming to him. But yeah, I think it depends if it allows you to net an extra premium. I'm not sure I would be getting a Butler or a Jesse Motlop. I mean, they're going to be great to watch, no doubt, but they're scoring 40s, 50s in wins. So, they can certainly be a Morris Rioli sort of type, I think. So I'd be steering clear of those two, even though they do have different buys. But yeah, I think we may have to just, settle for round 13s, even though that it's looking like a bit of a danger round coming up.
What about Joel Jeffrey? Is he a Northern Territory? Is that where he came from, the academy up there? Well, they're playing in Darwin, so surely he could just light it up for the fans up there playing against Hawthorn. If he could kick another 5, score another 95 points, he'll rocket up in price.
Yeah, that's right. He was from there. The Suns' Gold Coast, so the Suns Academy up there in Darwin is their NT zone, and they pretty much got him for free. So he could have been. Oh, here we go. Begala's here in front of the artwork.
Yeah, I've been trying to find a spot the whole last half hour. No, I'm kidding. I've just been pushing the gauntlet, but I'm here now.
Oh, very good.
We're talking about Joel Jeffrey.
Yep,
just
kicked 5.
Quickly, yeah, kicked 5. And yeah, as you said, Al, in front of his home fans, he could kick some more goals. I mean, the Hawks aren't that stacked in defence, and they tend to concede quite a lot of scores. But I wouldn't, bet on him scoring quite well up at TIO Stadium, where the conditions can be a little bit not so great for a marking medium forward, especially a young one as well. So could drop another one of those 25s. But certainly does have that 95 in his scoring for the next 3 rounds. So yeah, he's probably a little bit down the list, but I'd probably have him ahead of Jesse Motlop and Butler at this stage.
Dan, we're just talking about rookies, and Cleary seems to be the standout option this week. Do you think he's a must-have? And, would you consider cashing in someone like a McCartan or De Koning early to get him?
I think I watched both of his games. I thought it was quite impressive. It's just a matter of whether he still holds his spot with all these experienced players coming back. Duray, English, Waitman, they're going to have to squeeze some blokes out. And I don't think McComb's going to be one that gets dropped. He kicked 2-1 and had 20. So I think he'll be fine. If he gets named tonight, which we know it's a Saturday game, so we'll know the squads, it'll be pretty good and know what's happening there. So I think I'll probably pick him if he's selected tonight, which would be good, because it means I can keep guys like Sam De Koning and McCartan for next week's bye. They're the most important weeks of their year for those two gents. As long as they get through this week, don't get injured or miss next week, I'm happy with that. But no, I won't be downgrading anyone of that nature, being McCartan or De Koning, to Cleary. I'll be instead moving... I'm going to actually move Nick Martin, because I'm done. He's hit the wall for me. I think he's one of those young bucks that's unfortunately hit a pretty substantial level of fatigue right now, and the team's pretty languishing in 2-9 or 2 and whatever their current ratio is of wins to losses. And I'm ready to move him on. And also Matt Rowell, I've also made a decision that I don't want to go back to the drawing board, and he went back net 0 when he gets traded out of my side by keeping him for next week. But there was a big play that I'd retain Rowell till the end of next week because they've got the round 13 bye. But what I saw in the last 2 weeks, like he's probably had more tackles in both games than he has possessions, and there's something wrong with that for me. Like if you're a one draft pick ball winner and that's your current predicament, you can't be right, or his development hasn't been as you'd expected given the substantial wave of injuries he's had. So they're my moves: Rowell out, Ricky Martin out, and then in Cleary, most likely Cleary or Cooper Stevens, depending if he can get that Dangerfield role. And then, or not Dangerfield role, but a role that gets him entrenched in the 22. And then I'll upgrade, and I'm going to take probably Jack Crisp, despite the allure of Baz Luhrmann and Marcus Bontempelli, because those guys absolutely destroy my round 13 bye, and we can't do that. That's the big issue here. So I'm not taking Bont and I'm not taking Baz. I'm going to sit on my hands and wait till round 14 and take one of them at that stage. Pending there's likelihood I'll probably get a premium that goes down with the injury. I suspect that's my exit to get to one of those, because I'll have pretty much a full team by the end of next round 13. But to get there, I'm thinking I'm probably short like a Brody or a Treloar, or someone goes down with a hammy in the next couple of weeks. That's probably how I'll get to Bont. So exciting times, because the DPPs are the best part of SuperCoach this year, and also the extra trades and probably the boosts. There's been a lot of good things. But it's an exciting week when there's new players at the shopping mall for us to go and have a crack at.
So, Dan, Nick Martin is the most traded out player this week by a fair margin. He's been traded out of 20,000 teams after scoring sort of 40s and 50s the last couple of rounds. So that seems like a bit of a no-brainer. But if people have already traded him, maybe they traded, I think you've got Matthew Murphy put another comment in that he traded Canelio last week instead of Martin, ruining that in hindsight. Are we going to have an issue with the forward line just being sort of so crowded that, do I want to end up looking at trading out someone like a Butters, who I've held all year? He's obviously had a few down weeks, but he's been pretty good lately. But then if I want to try and squeeze in a Bontempelli or a Bailey Smith or Tim English, he's back this week. I'd definitely like to the timing of that, I think, is quite good. We'll give him a couple of weeks, hopefully maybe drop a bit in value. Then he'll be right for the picking after the Dogs buy as well. So, I mean, how many of these guys can we fit into the forward line? And do we have to start thinking about, moving on? Surely not Will Brodie.
Well, if you're talking to this Dan, I'm not actually going to move.
Which Dan were you talking to?
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
The Will Brodie predicament is, I mean, we're only going to know that the outcome of that once Nathan Fyfe returns to that side, and that doesn't really seem to be confirmed whatsoever. So, I mean, I'm going to give Brodie every chance to stay in my team until the end of the year, because what we saw on the weekend, I mean, he had pretty much 40 touches, dominated every contested facet of the game against Collingwood, and he sort of looked like a pig in mud in the wet conditions on Sunday afternoon. It was a perfect Will Brodie conditions for him, and I won't be moving anyone like that along. But the big concern we've got, and I think all coaches out there should be very wary of this, is once you add more and more Bulldogs to your team, there is that concentration risk that comes with if they have a mare and the Dogs get beaten by 10 goals, you're going to have some very, very underwhelming scores coming from the likes of Bond, Baz, McRae, English. You can't have 5 or 6 of them in your forward line. You need some diversity. You need to be very, very diversified in your team. And I'm willing to take Bont, and that's probably where the buck stops for me, because Bont is a proven 120 per week player. The others just overcomplicates my side and too concentrated to the Western Bulldogs.
Other Dan, what do you reckon? And what do you think on Tim English? I know Tim Mitchell, our friend, has held on to him this entire time, so he'll be absolutely wrapped that he's finally able to put him back on the field. But would you be looking to bring him in?
I think so. But yeah, I think Dan's certainly on the ball there, that you can't over-concentrate. It may be a case of choosing Bont or Baz, but at the same time, when you look at the forward line, you'd think that Bailey Smith and Bont are going to be in a top 4 or 5 scorers overall. But yeah, I guess you don't, with the forward line, it's almost like an embarrassment of riches, really. You should look to upgrade the rest of your team and then worry about that later, I think. If you've got, say, someone like a Cornelio at F6 and he's still pumping out hundreds, you're not going to be trading him out. Like, you're probably going to be looking to upgrade your side, or maybe you've got someone like a Bruce that you can upgrade to even like a Witts or Gawn during the buys as well. So, yeah, I think that there's probably more pressing problems than that. Obviously, it's something we got to get to, but it's certainly not a rush, I don't think, with all these forwards at our disposal, just to get maybe an extra 5-10 points per average per week.
Dan, a couple of questions here, Dan Begala, about Andy Brayshaw, who we know is one of your favourites. Is he in the Begala brigade? Yeah,
Brayshaw's in my side. I got him in last week. 2 down weeks, both sub 100, but like pretty much got to 100. He's got this ability, once the game's finished, to just get to 32 touches. He does it every single week. He's pretty much getting tagged, and then he just piles on 15, 16 touches in about 40 minutes. So I've got no qualms around him. I do worry sometimes that he is the guy that they go to, and everyone knows that Brodie's probably too hard to stop. He's a big bull, and he just wins the contested stuff anyway. But I would probably, for me, like, I would still take Brayshaw. Like, I think his upside is much higher than Baz Lenker's. But I mean, if Baz gets up and he's fit, like as Michael Voss is alluding to there, the great coach of Carlton, and Thomas Voss's, I think, cousin or brother, not brother, sorry. But I do think
Casey
that
in the mid-season draft.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Nephew. Nephew,
South Australian origins. But I do think that Brayshaw has higher upside than Baz Lenker, and also it helps you take some of that diversity into your side. You get some Fremantle players, you get some players away from the Western Bulldogs. But I mean, Baz Lenker is pretty alluring. Like, the guy's getting 40 pieces every week. He's running huge kilometres, 16, 17 Ks a week. And now what Bevo's saying is he's starting to scratch the surface, hitting the scoreboard. So last week, his first 2 kicks, I watched the Ballarat game, his first 2 inside 50s, both contested marks by Norton and maybe Buku Kamas or someone like that. And they ended up in goals. So he's going to start getting goal assists, score involvements. He's going to start hitting the scoreboard directly himself. So, I mean, I would take Brayshaw because he's a proven bull and he's inside. But Bailey Smith is he's on a warpath at the moment. I think he wants to be better than Sam Walsh. I think that's what he's got his pension on being. And I think that's same draft, both middies. I think that's what the goal is now. But he's been sensational. I can't fault his season. And I mean, he's all over. He's like the new Calvin Klein model, really. He's just become the face of everything.
Yeah, he's a big Freidenberg as well on TikTok.
I saw that. Yeah, so he didn't speak about his hair or something.
Couldn't get him over the line in Kooyong, but
yeah, there's a big billboard just near the freeway, not far from here. I drive past it a fair bit with Baz reclining there. So reminding me about him. But a question actually here from Alec, just to clarify, he's asking when the DPPs happen. So it'll be after the next round, and they should be there when SuperCoach opens on Sunday night. We'll see a bunch of new positions. And Tim is updating that story, I think, again now. We've got some more stats from Champion about exactly how much time all these guys will have to spend in their secondary position this week. Like if we know that Bontempelli's been playing 39% forward, what would have to happen this week for him to make sure he stays over the 35%? And I can give a little spoiler to say I think Baz has to play 100% in the midfield to miss out on dual position. So if you brought him in this week and he actually spends the entire game in the centre square, he might not get it, and you'll just be stuck with him in your midfield. But probably not the worst thing that could happen, but you'd think he'd sneak forward at some stage against the Eagles. And I think Bont is pretty much across the line, whatever happens this weekend. But was there anyone else on that list, Dan Batten, that you're keen to keep an eye on? Darcy Cameron, we know, is in your team. He will be at ruck forward after this weekend.
Yeah, he's probably the one, especially with Braden Bruce, being out at times, and, he's unreliable with suspensions and that sort of thing, just as a bit of cover. But as we sort of alluded to on the official SuperCoach podcast, he doesn't provide that much relief because Cameron's bye is in round 14 when a lot of the other, like Darcy and Gawn, both have the bye that week as well. And in round 12, and you look at round 13, for instance, you've got Hayes, Bruce, Gawn, Darcy all playing that round as well as Darcy, as well as Cameron. So it doesn't provide that much relief, but at least a little bit of provides a bit more flexibility. I think Jaden Short, being a def mid, I mean, the problem is at the moment, I had a def mid swing, but I actually don't have a defender in my midfield line at the moment. So it's hard to actually swing a player back, but that's a player that's very popular that's likely to gain DPP. But yeah, there's a couple of other names that are probably a little bit more unlikely to miss. I think Sam Walsh was the bolter really, and he might be one for a bit later in the season, sort of a late season sideways trade. I reckon if he does get forward status, he could be the number one forward. Yeah.
I think the other one on that list that I liked was McComb at the Bulldogs, going to get mid forward. So that's always handy, especially through the buys. You can flick him around with a Maurice Rioli and these sort of guys to sort of cover as many holes as you want. Actually, talking about the rucks, Dan Begala, sort of lost track of. We talked about the rucks, I feel like, every week for about the first 6 weeks, and we haven't done it for a couple of weeks. But where's your ruck situation at the moment? I mean, Gawn is in a bit of a form slump. I looked up during the week. He's 3-round average. He's the 19th ranked ruckman in KFC SuperCoach, behind Tom DeConning and Lloyd Meek and all these guys, averaging about 81. I mean, is there any concerns there? Or if people don't have Gawn, do you now wait till after his bye? A lot of us have Sam Hayes on the bench. When do we start thinking about cashing him in? I mean, what are your plans around the ruck line?
Well, I think the dream solution for us all is that in round 13, Luke Strandika from West Coast gets named for his third game, and we short Sam Hayes, maximise his profit, get him out, ciao, see you later, because he can't help us in 12, and he can't help us in 13, and then in round 13, when Gawn and Bruce are playing, he can't help anyway, as Dan alluded to before. So there's really no point in retaining him below that point, because in round 14, most coaches are going to head into the week with probably 3 or 4 extras, helping their scores propel a little bit more in that final bye. So I am going to move him on probably next week with the hope that Strandika misses this week and then gets a gig in the following week, because he's 102K. He might play 1 or 2, and at least it's better than nothing. We might get some upside. Otherwise, I might look to get a ruck forward loop that can help me just work out when Marshall comes into the forward line or someone else comes to the forward line we're not suspecting just yet, or Blixabs. I think he's going to be defender ruck, which looks really quite good. But for me, I'm running Max Gawn, Bruce, and then Hayes. I'm very jealous of the people that are currently running with Witts, Bruce, and then Hayes. Because Witts' season has been amazing. I saw a tweet the other night. I think I sent it to my friends, and it was this bloke saying that Witts had just had a dream run, really. It was sort of suggesting he's rucking against Hawthorn without a ruckman this week, so he kind of nashes his opponent. Week before that, similar vibe. So no disrespect to Witts. He's an absolute star. He's bouncing back from an ACL. So that's what I love about it all. But Ricky Pedersen, I think, asked a good question, and that's what I will be doing with Hayes. I think I'm hoping to get one more round of profit out of him, or price appreciation out of him this week. And then next week, probably take a 102K ruckman or a Strandika from West Coast and just take the money and then redeploy elsewhere, and the team will be finished. That's the plan. because I think Gawn will play if Gawn's playing through a slight PCL or a medial or whatever he's got in his knee, because he's clearly not Max Gawn right now. I think he'll play the whole season and we won't have any issues with him playing. It then comes down to Bruce. Bruce has already missed quite a chunk of footy at the start. He's now had illness. He's now got a new coach he wants to impress. You'd suspect Bruce probably gets through the end of the year, barring any injuries occurring. But I will save one trade to move one of those ruckmans on in case of injury, but I'm not going to really care because Bruce 110 average, except that he's my R2. It's just, can Max Gawn turn it around? And hope that every man and his dog that doesn't have him jumps on at 450 or 500 grand. That's the problem I'm worried about.
Yeah, I think that's right. Now, good question here from Geordie, suggesting Blitzarves could become a ruck defender mid-forward, which he nearly could, but I think there is a maximum of only 2 positions, so unfortunately he won't get all that, but I think he will get ruck defence. He's been averaging over 100 for the past sort of 6 weeks or so. Is he a sneaky option, Dan Batten, for maybe your last defender spot? And then I know Tim Mitchell's got his eye on, what's the name of the Carlton 102K? There's a defence ruck rookie there that you could stick on your ruck bench and swing them. A Kiwi or something? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
What do you think of that as a plan?
Swing. I mean, that would be quite the plan. I reckon it would certainly give you def ruck cover along that crucial line. But yeah, looking at Blitzarves' scores, he really has flown under the radar.
Yep.
Since round 4, hasn't fallen below 93 points. It scored all tons in every game besides that one against North Melbourne with the 93. So, and he's getting more ruck minutes, it seems. With Reece Stanley's been injured and in fairly poor form as well. So he's been back up rucking and getting some really good numbers. So, yeah, I think it's certainly an option. Well, the one thing I will say, I brought in Witherden 3 weeks ago. I reckon it may be the worst trade I've ever made, or the worst trade of my season, at least so far. Because you look at all the quality defenders at the moment. Is Blitzarves going to be a top 6 defender? I know Witherden definitely isn't, but yeah, Witherden, but Blitzarves, he may be on the cusp of that. But yeah, there's probably 5 other names that would be likely to score higher than him, I reckon, for the rest of the season. So depends who else you've got. He is at still at a decent price at 530k, but you can also get a guy like Jack Sinclair at around the same price, and he's just absolutely flying. So yeah, I guess the short answer is there's probably better options around.
Yeah, I don't mind it, but you're right. I don't have Sinclair, I don't have Tom Stewart, I don't have Doherty. Probably try and squeeze one of those guys in, but the price isn't bad, and his break evens over 100 this week, so he's probably not going to go up too much. Just wanted to keep in mind for sure, and that DPP could come in handy. I think the Jared Witts talk is a good chance to segue into captains this week, and I think Geordie's on the money there. If you have Jared Witts against the Hawks, like as you mentioned, Dan, I did go back and look through it. I think he played Carlton the week Pitney was a late withdrawal, and then he played Collingwood the week after Grundy went down. And he played the Swans with no Hickey. So he's just, he's somehow managed to dodge all those sort of top line rucks. But, as we say, you can only play who you're up against, and he's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, off an ACL, just incredible.
Darcy as well. 130 against Sean Darcy.
That's
so,
true.
I mean, like he has, even against some of the best, he's done well.
He smashed Gawn in round 2. Absolutely smashed him.
Yeah, incredible. Off an ACL, and he's started at under 400k, and he's now over 600, and he's clearly the number 1 ruck in SuperCoach. You'd have to, if you had Gawn and you wanted to get to Witts, you'd have to find some money from somewhere, which is nuts, really. So they play on Saturday. Well, they play in Darwin. I guess that's maybe the only thing to maybe keep in mind, because it might be, there might be 100 stoppages, who knows? But
that's the thing. Yeah. And little hit outs to advantage from Witts. Yeah, could be. I reckon it's the sort of one where you check the scores and halfway through the second quarter he's on 60. So that's the feeling I've got with Witts at the moment.
Yeah, hopefully he can get a few to Tuke Miller or traded in Tuke last week, and that was
59.
It's just absolutely bizarre. But so if you don't have Witts, if you do have Witts, I think you definitely want to factor him into your captaincy calculations. I mean, it might obviously depend on who the loopholes might be. I didn't have a loophole at all last week, so almost banking on someone getting dropped, but. Might be my new recruit Buku Kamas. There's a couple of big wins bringing those guys in last week, but I did get Petrarca as well, so it wasn't all a complete disaster. But who are you thinking captain wise this weekend, Dan? I mean, we got all those Bulldogs against the Eagles. Yep. Surely that has to be plan A.
Yeah, well, I think I believe that's a 7:30 odd game, so it's pretty late in the afternoon on Saturday. So I think I'm actually going to go Clary VC versus Freo. Like, I mean, no known tagger there. Maybe Sarong might try and go to him because, I mean, once you're in the media and everyone's going career game, 45 touches, meters gained, yada, yada, you're always due for some consideration for the opposition's best defensive midfielder. So I think that will happen. And my theory with Clary is I always seem to pick him on the weeks he underwhelms, and the weeks that I don't have him, he goes 178 like he did last week. So he's hard to pick with him. He's quite volatile, but he goes huge nonetheless. So I'll give Clary the keys because I think I've almost got to the point now with Lockie Neal. I think I've VC'd/C'd him 4 to 5 times this year, and every time he gets 115 or less. So it's a bit of a troublesome period when he gets that. It's a curse of Lockie Neal. And then when he goes 200, I'm sitting there and 10% of the coaches have him with that sort of position. So I'll go probably Clayton into McRae. I think McRae, after a couple underwhelming performances, will not get the attention because guess what? The last time that West Coast played the Dogs, both times at Etihad and over at Perth, Bontempelli 3 votes both games. Like, Bont was huge. Bont kicked multiple goals, even won them the game at Etihad earlier in the year, and then he dominated them in a no-crowd wet game over in the end of the year.
Yeah, he kicked that big snap
from the boundary
as well.
Yeah. So I've got Bont to get tagged by Redden, and then I think McRae will just get 40, and 40 for 144, hopefully. So that's my plan. What about you guys?
Yeah, I don't really have much of a – sorry, I don't have much of a choice. I've got my 2 loopholers, Mitch Cox and Josh Rochelle, and they played both on the 145 game on the Saturday. So I sort of have to loophole someone on the Friday night. So it's going to be probably a Luke Parker or a Jaden Short, someone a little bit smoky sort of type. And then it's probably going to be C into either McRae or Bontempelli, just depending how I am going. And I guess it will depend if Luke Cleary is named as well, because I'm not sure I actually can get Bont if Cleary isn't named. So we'll see how we go there. But yeah, I think it'd probably be one of those Bulldogs as captain.
Nice little suggestion here from Daniel Sinclair, absolutely flying against the Kangaroos. You think he'd get plenty of kicks on. So that's a Sunday game. Then you've got, guys like Cripps. But what's going on with Cripps? Daniel, it's actually worked in your favour this way, not having him at the moment.
It's all been pretty good, luckily, because I took Petrarca 2 weeks ago, knowing that I had to tidy up my team for the round 13 bye, and I have now. Actually, round 12 bye. The one where Carlton misses, I've tidied up. And since then, he's really gone 83 and 78. I think his 2 respective scores have been, and he's started his game so slow. Like, he's been on 14 or 6 points at quarter time. And I just feel like I was chatting to a friend the other day about this. I thought like these guys they're inside workhorses. And like, as the season progresses, their body goes from being at 100% fit to 80, and it just keeps dropping, I guess, as they take on more and more niggles. And I think that's probably what's happened to Cripper, plus overlaying that with a heap of attention. So Callum Mills had him at most stoppages the other night. And if it wasn't Callum Mills, Heaney had an arm on him. And if it wasn't someone else, they're always arm barring him, like they always say on 360 with David King and Montagna. And they're just giving him a lot of attention, and it's probably well-deserved because he's not that hard to work out. He loves to dominate the stoppage. As soon as the stoppage is done, he takes off and heads forward. And teams are now aware of that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get forward, take marks, kick goals, and they've worked out ways to defeat that. And, I mean, I think he'll bounce back and go big in the Sunday afternoon fixture, the traditional time slot 3:20 Channel 7 game on a Sunday. So I think he'll come back, but it's worked out perfectly for me. His BE this week's 178, so I am keeping a pretty close eye on him, and I'll have him by the week after his bye. So in round 13, I keep going a bit crazy with my dates, but whenever he's come back from bye, he comes back to the side, and then Bont comes in the week after, and my team is finished, and I've got my boys. I like the 6'4" midfielders. Got to get the guys that have similar chassis to you. That's what you got to do.
Well, that's why I picked up Malcolm Rosas and
Wonder why.
The captaincy. I mean, I think especially if I don't have a loop, it's one of those Bulldogs. It's going to be really hard. I mean, Dunkley would be another decent option. Someone suggested Baz if you bring him in. Bont. I mean, I think Bont probably has more of the capacity to go absolutely bananas and score 190. But McRae's probably a little bit safer because, I mean, I do remember when I brought Bont in, he was a bit frustrating, playing a lot of forward time, and sort of, I think he dropped 180 in that little block. So, yeah, but that's going to be a tricky one. But, I suppose at least last week, I know some people got caught out. You just got to be really careful with, I had Brady Hoff, and I saw he was an emergency for the Eagles, and I thought there's a very good chance he's going to be the sub, which he was. I didn't actually see when he came on. It must have been very late in the game.
The very last quarter, yeah.
Only scored 3 points. So I saw someone that was going around on Twitter had the C on him. So you do not want to be caught out with that. Better to just, I went the straight C on McRae last week, got 104 or whatever it was, which is not brilliant, but better than 3. I'll definitely say that. We need to get our zinger of the week happening. Where is the logo I've got here? Where is it? Here we go. And I'll give it to. Oh, did that work? Where's the zinger?
Oh no!
Oh, there it is. Yep. Hang on. Some technical issues here. Very good comment here from. Lost it now. Where is he gone? Here it is from Alex. We know he's a very loyal watcher. He's saying he's playing the Phantom this week in a league ranked 2nd overall. I think he said earlier he's in the rank about there he is, ranked 214th overall. Yeah. So only about 30, 40 places behind the Phantom. So that's going to be a great matchup. We'll have to maybe keep an eye on that. Now, asking if we can get in and sabotage Phantom's team. I don't know. I don't have Phantom's login. And if Dan alluded earlier that Phantom might have some kind of cheat code himself. So I don't know that we're going to be able to help with that, Alex, but we'll be barracking for you. We'll be watching that one very closely. So good luck in that matchup. And I mean, honestly, the Phantom is having an unbelievable season. And if you can keep it going with a new little member of the Phantom family arriving in a couple of weeks, that'd be pretty impressive. But Dan Begala, you've managed to pull it off. So Dan, maybe we need to. This is the secret.
That's the secret. That's the secret recipe. But I think all things going equal, fan season's phenomenal, and I think we just got to ride it. And we should probably telecast that game there, Alex versus Phantom on KO. Find a channel for the whole weekend. People can watch the scores update.
I'll have to get Alex. I don't know if you're on Twitter. We will need to follow, find out who
some live updates for sure
in that game.
He's in a league ranked 2nd overall as well, which is very impressive. Quality opposition in that league.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, that's been great. Dan, thanks. Both Dan, thanks for jumping on. It was a great chat. And next week we got the buys. We'll have a whole round of DPPs to talk about as well. So plenty going on in the KFC SuperCoach world. It's still Indigenous Sports Month on all the News Corp mastheads as well. So check out all that great content. Obviously, Dreamtime was absolutely awesome last weekend. So plenty out of that. And Morris bounced back, which we love to see. 60 odd points. So I think he's actually going to make a little bit of money. You just have to slow burn, I think is what they call him. But if he can keep playing during the buys, that'll keep us all happy. So good luck, everybody out there with your trades, and we'll catch you very soon.
Cheers, guys.